Susie, and this is...
I'm Linda.
Welcome. We are so glad that you have hit that YouTube channel and joined us because this is our first official YouTube channel.
Cheers.
I'm Susie. And
I'm Linda.
This is Linda, and we're going to tell you a little bit about this YouTube channel. First, we're going to start off by how we met and how we have become friends, because this Linda is my dear friend. Probably like the old saying, a sister from another mother.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And we have been friends for now 20 years.
20 years this year.
How we met was a little unique. You know, in fact, my first memory of Linda is we were going to a retreat with a company that we actually was a training, and we were going to that. And my earliest memory of you was coming on the airplane huffing and puffing because y'all almost lost. You almost missed our flight.
That's right. Yes.
And
the gal I was going with was
you were going to the Raleigh airport.
Yes,
in North Carolina.
Yes.
But anyway, that was the beginning of our friendship. And we were brought together. We were actually with a company that we did hormone balance training. Mm-hmm. And that
women's women's health education.
Yeah. And it was a
it was fun.
wonderful time. It was fun. And so we've stayed friends. And what's been really unique about our friendship is that as we began to get to know each other, we realized that we had a lot of common things. It wasn't just the company that brought us together, but it was, it truly was life. Yeah. We both have 3 children, and our children were born we were kind of doing the same thing at the same time. Our children were kind of born at the same time. And we found out that there was a lot of things that we loved to do together. Mm-hmm. And one of that is knitting. And so there's going to be a lot of sharing about our knitting adventures. You know, we both are a part of knit groups where we live. Mm-hmm. I live in Huntsville, Alabama.
And I live in the Charlotte area.
And we truly only get together just very limited times, you know. So us being together for this first episode is a real treat. It's actually very special.
It is.
And so we love knitting, and one of the things that we love about knitting is our knit groups, and of course they're separate. We talk about our knit groups with each other, but we
and we have met each other's knit groups.
Yes, we have.
Which is fun.
But what is so wonderful about a knit group, if you're a part of one, is that honestly, it's really not about the knitting. It's about getting together. And I've always
said... We just knit while we talk.
Exactly. And so that's kind of
we knit while we do everything.
Oh, that's true. So what we're wanting you to do is when you decide to tune in with us is we want you to make sure that you have knitting needles and yarn, or a crochet hook, or cross stitch, whatever you're doing. Just come and be with us, and let's have a friendship circle. Really, that's what it is.
It is.
And I've always said that knitting is much more than needles and yarn. And truly, when you meet someone that does anything with needles and yarn, there's like an instant connection, just instant. I was at a restaurant one time, and I was knitting socks, and my server came over to the table to take our order, and she saw me knitting socks, and there was an instant connection. She was probably about 30 years younger than me, which shocked me because I'm not used to talking to people 30 years younger than me that love to knit. And she also knew about my needles that I was using, and she said, "Oh, you use those needles, and what kind of yarn are you using?" "Oh, I know that yarn." And we talked about hand dyers, and we talked about patterns, and we talked about Ravelry, and it was unbelievable. And everybody at the table is sitting there listening to this conversation, and it's like, what are you doing? But it's like it was instant friends.
Well, there's either a connection or curiosity.
Yeah,
it's
that's
always
true.
one or the other. Even with men, like they're looking like, what are you doing? You know, and a lot of people don't know the difference between crochet and knit. So we explain to them what we're doing.
At my knit group one time, we were sitting there knitting, and there was this young guy. He had to have been in his early 30s, and he came over to our table. He'd been sitting over at another table, and when I could
Were you at
tell,
a coffee shop?
we were actually at a restaurant, Atlanta
Okay.
Bread,
Mhm.
which has coffee, but
Right.
that's where we normally would meet each week. And I could tell that he was watching. So he finished eating his food, and when he got finished eating, he came over to our table, and he said, it has been a joy watching y'all while I've eaten.
Isn't that
And
interesting?
he began to talk about how that his grandmother had knitted and crocheted blankets for all of the grandchildren. And he said, my grandmother is now deceased. And when he said that, he started crying.
Aw.
And it just touched my heart. And he said, those blankets are now so special to all
Is that
of
where you
us.
got the idea of your knitting?
Yeah.
Oh, we won't talk about that yet, but yes. Oh, that's cute.
But
really.
it was so sweet that young man came over, and he just kind of interrupted our group. And there he's standing in Atlanta Bread crying, talking about the blankets that his grandmother had knitted and crocheted for all the grandchildren. And so we would probably have a lot of stories to tell about people coming up to our tables.
I know. It's fascinating. I know. But yeah, people are just either they're curious about it. And I think what they sense is the peacefulness of it. And I think that's why, I just read this article on Instagram about how people's blood pressure drops when you're knitting. And you see those memes, I knit so I don't kill people. Well, we knit so we don't have nervous breakdowns. It's like it's therapy.
It is
Isn't that what it
therapy.
says? There it is. Knitting is my therapy.
Knitting is my therapy. It truly is.
It is. And I'm a person who doesn't sit easily. So, at night you really can't do a lot because you're tired, but I still want to sit and I'll be fidgeting. So now I knit.
Yeah.
It keeps my hands busy. It keeps me from eating.
It also gives permission to do TV watching, which I actually feel guilty about.
Because it's my knitting time.
Because if I'm knitting a gift for somebody, it's like, oh, I'm knitting.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives me permission to waste time with TV.
Yes. Well, and I've always said I'd be great during the radio days. I could just sit in front of the old-timey radio and knit because I listen. I can look, but, I mostly listen a lot. So, and that kind of sometimes allows my husband to kind of watch some of his things more because I'm just listening. I don't care. I don't really care. I just want to knit.
I don't really care either.
But, and that kind of, so yes, we love to knit, and it's just, waiting around is never a problem because you're knitting.
Oh,
I almost like, it's going to take 30 minutes to fix my car. Yay, 30 minutes to knit.
I love it. But now if I walk out the door without my knitting bag, I literally go through withdrawal.
I do too.
I literally have left and turned around and gone back and gotten it. And I've
done that for earrings.
Oh, I have too.
I can't go out of the house without
I'm
earrings.
miserable if I go out of the house without my
It's
earrings.
funny.
It's like part of my body is missing.
Yeah. So though we do love to knit, this is not always going to be about knitting because life is much more about knitting. But we do most everything and knit.
Well, yeah.
So
we're just gonna fellowship and talk about the things, which is lots of things.
Oh yes.
In fact, my husband loves. My sisters are coming to visit, and I have 4 sisters.
You need to adopt me.
No, well, you are adopted. I have 4 sisters, and we get together every year, and it's called our Little Sisters Retreat. In fact, my husband is really, and most of my sisters do knit, so we usually always try to go to a yarn shop or something and share our patterns and whatever. But he cannot wait for all my sisters to get to my house.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, because he loves listening to us talk.
We're interesting. I know, and my husband, when we have knit, our knit group, he'll come in and he'll hang around and then he'll start to feel a little awkward, and then he just goes in the office so he can still hear because he wants to hear.
And you never
Because
know
we
what
are
we're going to talk
interesting.
about.
Well, we do. We just talk about so many different things, but I think the majority of our conversations are now about, let's say, all the things that people talk about, in my opinion. But we add in chickens, sometimes goats,
Bread baking.
yeah, bread baking. Of course, Rebecca still sews a lot, and then we have grandchildren, and children, and religion, politics, and all those good things. So that's what we talk about. But we do. When we complete something, or of course, while we're knitting, we'll look over and say, "Oh, what are you knitting?" But we, once we get done with something, actually, we mostly show it off over text. We'll take pictures and send it to each other.
True.
But if we're, we'll talk about it. But we don't. We tried doing a knit along. That was a fail. So we tried doing a Christmas sweater together 2 years ago. But people were pulled away with Christmas gifts for grandchildren and this, that, and the other thing. And 2 years later, I finally finished, and it's unblocked. Of course, most of my things are unblocked. I am the most unblocking person.
Well, and I'll tell you, I am too.
You are?
Yeah,
Really?
I think. Oh, it's awful, and I think
What
that.
is that about blocking?
Well, I think I'm more of a progress knitter. I'm not a process knitter.
Yeah.
I just want to. It's about
I just
having the
wanna
yarn,
knit.
and then I just want to knit.
I always
And-
say
and
most
it's
people knit to get
tying
things.
in ends, and I just.
Well, then you
just-
need the big space for all the mats and,
And
the
all the
pin
blocking and all
but
that.
yeah, I really have things because I knit. I don't knit for things. Now it's changing. I have been knitting some garments, and that's been fun, but technically I just end up with things because I knit. So that's why I don't. It's horrible. I mean, my Advent blanket from last year is beautiful. I made it to go in my bedroom. It's still unblocked. It's in the basket, just sitting there.
I have
waiting.
an Advent blanket that I started in 2021, and it's not completed. My 2022 Advent is not completed. My 2023 is not completed.
You didn't finish the one that when we were watching the.
No,
Oh, you didn't do that either?
no.
Well, that's
no.
okay.
So
No, 'cause
there
there's something
again,
in. Yeah.
but I'm having a ball doing all of it. I get bored with this one, go to the other, go to another, go to another.
Yeah. So you just never know what this is going to be about, but it'll always be a little bit something.
And we
about
won't
knitting.
be like this a lot.
No,
because we
we're not
live too far
together.
apart.
Yeah.
So, we're
How many hours?
About 8 hours. Yeah, about 8 hours to get here.
So you're probably going to see us on a split screen, but we'll still be visiting. So we'll all be on screens together.
That's right.
Even
right.
each other.
That's exactly
But we
right.
should talk about what we're knitting because
Yes.
we are knitting some fun things. So you are truly, you're just a real knitter. I mean, look at you go. You're just cranking out stuff.
Well, I truly knit in the nooks and crannies of my life, is what I
Yeah.
say. And I've learned to continental
Right.
knit because I can knit faster continental.
Right.
But sometimes I still will shift over to English knitting.
Mm-hmm.
Sock knitting has been something that I always have wanted to do, but it has been another learning curve for me because there's so many different ways to knit socks.
I know, and I was so jealous of people who like socks, but I tried all the ways, and I'm going to talk about the way I'm now knitting. But honestly, I just couldn't. And it's a great thing because they're just so pretty, and the things you get with all the pretty yarn. But I just couldn't enjoy it because I didn't enjoy the technique I was
Yeah,
using.
and you have
So
to find
finally,
your,
I found one.
Yeah, you
Finally,
have
I
to
found
find
one,
it.
and now I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of have done the same thing. I've switched back and forth between double points and 9-inch circulars, and I tried magic loop. That wasn't for me. 2 at a time. I've tried a bunch of different ways, and I have finally found my way that I enjoy.
It's like exercising.
Yeah, it
you have to
is.
find your way, and then you'll enjoy
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
Haven't found that way yet, but we're working on it.
That's true. And so last month,
you got to start.
so last month was, of course, July. So I thought, okay, Christmas in July.
Oh,
so let's think
yes.
about what we're going to do. And I have 2 sons and a son-in-law and of course a husband. All 4 of those guys love socks, hand-knitted socks. And so, of course, I've gotten better doing it through the years. But so for Christmas this year, and hopefully none of them are going to be seeing what I'm showing. But
I don't know who's our
yes, that's true.
Don't
And
mention.
so I have started last in July. I started knitting socks for Christmas, and so I'm going to just show you some of those. All of these socks,
They're so pretty.
all of these socks, I have used this yarn. It's, would you say that's unique sock?
Unique. I would
Unique
say.
sock. And of course, it's a hand-dyed, self-striping, matching sock kit. And if you're not familiar with this, in the box you get 2 little skeins of yarn, and they are dyed identical.
Matching.
So when you knit, you're getting identical striping. You know, it looks like you've put a lot of time into it, but it's really the cheap way to do it. And so if you have never tried this yarn, you certainly need to try it. So here are some of the ones that I've done.
I'm gonna knit while you're talking
You're gonna
about
knit.
your.
So here
Well,
is
no, I can't. I gotta look.
Here
They're wonderful.
one pair. And of course, the guys in my family, they wear size 12 and 13. Even my husband wears a size 14 tennis shoe. So I feel like I'm knitting a blanket when I knit their socks. When I knit their socks. So anyway, here's one pair. And again, this is all the unique sock knitting. And here are yarn. Here's another pair.
Oh, so pretty.
And I always
Are those-
love to do the heels and the toes in a corresponding yarn. And with them, I need to, because I'm afraid I'm gonna run out of yarn with this. How big of a sock I have to knit.
Are those the ones you were knitting in Salt Lake?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
these
thought
are-
so. They had that fire. They kind of remind me of fire and.
Well, in fall, this pretty
Yeah.
fall colors. And then this is for one of my sons, but I think they'll be okay with pink. I love these colors.
I love 'em.
So here's another.
Oh no, they like the colorful socks now. It's
Yeah.
like when their pant leg goes up and they've got something going on down there, they love it.
And then
I think it's
here
so fun.
is, this is one that I'm working on
That
right
is
now.
something else.
And of course, this is going to be the heel, and then I'm going to do, I think, a yellow toe, because you've got the yellow
Okay.
in here. So, but I'll
Socks of many colors.
socks in many colors. And you know, as far as a pattern, I
What is
really,
with your toe? Your toe is so pretty. It's not
So-
so pointy. I love that.
so
toe.
I found a pattern that I really liked. I've not actually knitted the pattern, the actual sock pattern,
Okay.
but I was watching a, let me make sure I tell you this right. Let me put my glasses on. So there was a podcast that I was watching, and it's, the name of the podcast is Knit Sip Happy, and with Nancy Wheeler. So many of you probably will know who Nancy is, but she had a pattern called the Book Tushy Boardwalk Socks, and I really liked them. We'll put all this information.
Booktushi?
Book Tushy. And in her talking on her podcast about these socks, she talked about how that she has done her toes so that they are more rounded
Yeah, I
versus
don't like the elf
being
toe, the
angled.
pointy-
Angled
yeah.
and a little small top
So
piece here at
what's
the top.
that she done different?
Well, it's just, you'll have to buy the pattern. I reckon.
Okay, well.
I'll tell you about that. However, if you will get this pattern, she has a rounded toe in there. And I've done all kinds of toes.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
done
I like that a
German
lot.
short row, and you know, fish lip with the heels, the fish lip heel, and oh, there's so many.
Yeah, they still
But
look
you
like
kind of
elf
have to
toes.
find, and I've memorized this one, and so really this has become my go-to toe. I just
All
thank
right.
you, Nancy. I love this rounded toe. So you have to check it out. And of course, I think with all the heels that I've done and the way they feel on the feet in my family, heel flap gusset has tended to be I've memorized it. It's kind of my go-to. Socks, if they're going to be comfort knitting, you have got to find a way that you enjoy them, because if you are forever
Right.
having to look at a pattern for, you know, heel and toe and all of that, I want them to be comfort, and I think that's why I love self-striping, because I do want to do color work socks, but I just love the comfort of it.
Right.
And I think that's too why I knit a lot of dishcloths, because I've got a pattern that I do with dishcloths that I love, memorized it, and I just do it all the time. You know, it's a quick, I'll share this. My knitting bag is always in the car with me, and if I get in a traffic jam, how many of you do that?
Oh my goodness.
I pull that knitting bag over and I'm knitting on a sock or a dish. There is never, when I say I knit in the nooks and crannies of I really do. I really do.
Well, you know, other people just pull out their phone, so you're just
I'm
knitting.
being a little bit more creative, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
how fun.
So what you got going on there?
Oh, well, I just started doing this. I shouldn't have. But, so these are some socks. Actually, Susie bought me this yarn. So,
and this is from the Cozy, is it Cozy Knitter? I think it's the Cozy Knitter, and
right.
It was one of her sock advents.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. The sparkles, of course, are in there. You can kind of see it. But so look at these socks. Now I want to show you. Oh, look at the difference in the width.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking.
Look at there.
Oh, so this one, which I'm going to take apart, probably. I mean, these are for me, so I may not care. I don't know. We'll find out. This one I knit on double points. And obviously I knit a lot bigger. And I just didn't enjoy it. I kept, you know, you've got the 4 needles and something sliding off, and I was just going bonkers. So I have to tell you, the Crazy Sock Lady, if you ever watch this, I love you. I do. She's just mesmerizing to me. And she has how to do your socks with the 2 16-inch double point, and you're only using one set at a time, so you go around. So instead of the magic loop with the big loop, it would hit me all the time. It'd drive me crazy. I would feel like somebody's going, mom. I couldn't handle it. So this is kind of like that, you know, just using a circular without all that extra wire cable hanging around. I love it. So now I finally love knitting socks, but as you can tell, this ended up being a lot smaller and prettier, frankly. So
you found your technique.
I found my technique, and I really like it, and I'm glad I finally found it, because
Isn't it neat
now
how
I
there's
understand.
so many different ways to do it.
Well, there is, and I just understand why people love socks now, and they go really fast actually once you get going. And everybody's like, well, you know, I'm afraid to start a sock because I might not finish the second one. I couldn't wait to start the second one. So I understand the whole sock love. I'm in sock love now. Thank you, Crazy Sock Lady.
And I just got this book, The Sock Project. Many of you may have heard of this with Summer Lee, because I want to start color work.
Yes, in little patterns.
Yeah, in little patterns. So this is a fun little book.
I was just floored, you know, because we watch Fruity Knitting, of course, and Madeline, her first pair of socks, you know, she knits coffee cups in it. I'm like, what? You know, I can't even find a technique I like, and you're knitting color work and designs, and they were beautiful.
And you know, my first thought about...
I have goosebumps talking about it.
My first thought about doing that kind of things with socks, it's like, why go through all that trouble, because they're under clothes or they're in shoes, and so it's like almost if you do that, you want to wear wear pants that are a little bit higher. You got to show off those socks.
Madeline wears Mary Jane's, so there's just one little strap, and you've got a lot of the vamp or the top of your shoe showing, and she wears a lot of times those skirts, and her socks are adorable.
They are,
but it is.
And
fun.
I have 3 granddaughters that I'm wanting to knit socks for too. Yeah. You know, so socks are a lot of fun.
Well, they are. And, you know, but I think there's certainly, they're a labor of love. And, you know, people have got to just understand what you did for them. But isn't that just knitting or crocheting in general? You know, we have this little joke. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it, in our knit group. And, you know, it's like, we always say, oh, we should knit this for them, or we should knit, crochet that for them. It's like, will they really appreciate it? No, let's buy them a crock pot. You know, it's like, just go buy them a gift.
But you always have to find people that are knit worthy.
That's
they
right.
understand. They're knit worthy.
Well, they have to appreciate it, and you know. But yeah, they have to appreciate it, because you do go through, and it's never cheap. I mean, knitting is not, it's not a cheap or inexpensive hobby. So you put some good money and some good time and labor of love into your garments. So yeah.
And speaking of Christmas in July, I'm not leaving out my daughter-in-law and 3 granddaughters. And so this is what I've decided to do for them. I'm going to make a hat called the Smocked Slouch. And I saw this at a yarn shop in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it
That's
was already,
pretty.
and it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Here's another picture of it. And I'm going to be knitting it with Emma's yarn, so worsted weight, wash worsted weight.
Are all 3 of them going to be red? Or,
All 5 of them are
5.
going to be red. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you better not forget that baby.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, tell the story about that baby.
Oh,
my goodness.
My 16-month-old little granddaughter.
Sock
I made socks for my 2 older granddaughters who are 5 and almost 4. And I was visiting a few weeks ago, and they were real excited about the socks that were coming. And they sat down and were putting their socks on. And the little 16-month-old came over, and she sat on the floor, and she held her little feet up and was wanting to know where her socks were. And I felt
like, put a sock on my foot.
awful.
Oh.
But I have made her socks, and I'm going to have those for her the next time I see her.
Do you have
But
those
that
little
was,
socks? They look like little sausages.
Well, actually, I do. Let me get them.
Oh, she can go get them. They're adorable. So, did you find an infant sock pattern, or did you just know to make them smaller? I mean, what did you?
I
Look at
did.
these things.
Actually,
They're so
these are the little
cute.
magic heel, and we'll have to put the information because I cannot remember exactly the name of the pattern.
Oh,
But it's more of a ribbed heel, and what I did is I started the ribbed heel low to the toe and took it almost up to the cuff, so that as her little foot grows, I don't have blockers for these, but as her foot grows, the heel will push backwards, and which is a neat way to, and I did the same thing for Sawyer and Carson.
The heel's always in place.
Yeah, the heel is always in place.
That is so smart.
And so, as
did you
her-
pick this up?
Well,
That's so smart.
what I did is I took that pattern and I thought, if the whole back of that
Oh.
sock was ribbed, then her little foot could just push. And because
Sure,
her feet
sure.
grow so
I
fast.
know. Isn't that
But
true?
anyway, they
I
look kind of
see.
unusual this way, but they stretch out, and
That's
it's
neat.
It's like a little. There you go.
I love it.
And when I was knitting these, and I would try them on her because I was started knitting them while I
Okay.
was there, she
Okay.
would hold her little foot out, and she knew these were for her, so she'll be excited to get
Oh,
them.
that is so cute. But I mean, did you have a pattern so you knew how many stitches to cast on, or did you just guess?
I think I did look up a sock that had
Baby socks.
it had different size, and she was there, so I did a cast on. I was
Okay.
able to try them on her and make sure that the width was good and all that.
Aw.
So, and they knit up really quick.
That's so sweet. Oh my goodness. Well, there's our socks extravaganza.
Yeah.
I know. So I have to get done with my tea, my endless tea, so I can start some fall things. So what was I saying? Oh, I was saying I need to finish my cotton tea, which seems to be an endless tea at this point because I picked fingering and it's taking a really long time.
But it's beautiful. You're doing
It
a great
is,
job.
it is, and I'm trying to get it done before I go up to Wisconsin, which, August can be starting to get cool already in Wisconsin. But it's cotton inland, and so anyway. But I want to get done so I can make some fall things, because then once Christmas, December 1st comes, it's Advent time, and you got me into this Advent business. I love it so much.
Yeah, it is.
It's so special.
It is. And we kind of have our Vlogmases that we love to watch, and we can talk
goodness.
about all of that on another episode. But if you haven't done Advent, now's the time
It is so
to
fun.
find a yarn Advent. And there's lots of patterns out there. We'll share things that we've done through the years.
Well, and another thing is not only if you can still find them, because of course they come out in April and May,
Yeah.
because the dyers have to know how much yarn they have to create and
But
how
you
many
know, my
boxes.
first Advent, I found it in November.
Well,
Yeah, so sometimes you can find
I
them
think
then.
I found my first one last year in October, but
Yeah.
the Fiber Seed just came out with hers. She just came out, and I was waiting, but I got into a panic, I must admit, because she said it was going to come in June. It didn't come to July, and I kept looking at Instagram thinking I missed it, and then I got in a panic and I ordered another Advent. So it's okay, because then when hers came out, she has one. It's a 12 Days of Christmas, which I'm going to begin then after the first of the year. So it's going to be like my first knit of 20.
Yeah, well, you can do that
Oh
during,
my goodness,
during-
2025.
during Epiphany. I always have a 12 Days
Yeah.
of Christmas. So I do my
So I'm going to do that.
Advents up to the 25th, and then my 12 Days of Christmas always happen from Christmas to Epiphany, which is
Right.
really the real 12 Days of Christmas.
Well, the neat thing is most of these dyers, they allow you to do the split payment over like 4 months.
Oh yeah, that's really
So
nice.
it's very painless. So I could have two going at the same time.
Well, I've got
But
two
I-
24 days.
You do?
Yeah, I'm doing Chelsea
Oh.
Yarns, and I'm also doing Homespun House. So I'm doing those two for December 1 through 25, and I'll just probably be knitting with one and opening the other. And then I have a 12 Days of Christmas.
Wow. Yeah.
And
So
I think I did 3 by the Sea. I think 3
I
by
love
the
them.
Sea came out
I
with the
love them.
12 days of
but I'm not
Christmas.
fast enough for them. Their stuff comes out is sold in like 2 hours. I mean, their
I
stuff
know,
is
you have to
so
be there.
popular. I wanted.
I must have gotten a notification or something about
Well,
that.
I get them, and I just, oh my goodness, that's why I panicked with the Advent. I'm like, I can't let this happen to me
Yeah.
with my Advents. And so mine is the Leap of Faith. Is that what it's called? Leap of Faith, I think.
Leap of Faith.
I think that's my
Oh,
main
I don't-
one.
I don't remember.
That's horrible. We should have had that. But yes, but I still have. And so the 12 Days of Christmas is, they said something about under the sea and seashells, and you know, I'm all about the beach, so those colors will go nice in my house.
Yeah.
So
We are so glad that you joined us today. There's a couple of things that we really want you to do for us. The first thing I want you to do is go into the comments and tell us what is your favorite toe when you do sock knitting. There's so many of them.
I know.
And I'd love to know what your favorite is. But also, if you have used Nancy Wheeler's rounded toe, tell us. And what did you think about that toe? And please make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and tell your friends, because we want, of course, to get word out, and we want our little knit group here to grow.
yeah, we have plenty of room for everyone. So hope you can yarn over with us next time. Bye.
Okay,
Oh
pause.
my goodness.
Okay.
Yes.
So kind of look down, and
Yeah.
then we'll look up. Okay.
Okay, here we go.